Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Spring into Retail event. It's ready to arm you with the insights and best practices for the home and garden retail peak. My name is Joe Dolan. I am UK Sales Director for Retail here at Microsoft Advertising, and it's my job to welcome you and introduce our lineup for this session. So, before I do that, I just wanted to run through a few quick housekeeping rules. So welcome to Microsoft Teams. You'll see that these icons are on your screen, which will help you navigate the event. We do ask that you keep your camera and microphone switched off, so as not to disturb presenters or other participants. You'll notice that we have a chat functionality. So if you have a question for the speakers, or you want to share an interesting point, or you need help, we have a number of people who are on standby to help step in and help you. We also ask that you abide by our digital code of conduct, which you will see posted in the chat. Please note that by joining today's virtual event, your personal information such as name, email, phone will be visible to other participants. If you are looking for closed captions, please click the three dots shown on the screen on the right-hand side, and you can select captions to appear on your screen. The session is being recorded and will be available post-event. Plus, we will also be sharing the content in an email shortly after the session. So that's the housekeeping over. Onto the exciting stuff. What have we got for you today? So we're going to kick off with Barry Murray. So Barry is our EMEA Insights lead, and he's going to share some key trends from this time last year, and will also give us a glimpse of what to expect for the coming months. Then after Barry, I'm really excited to introduce Raman Juti, who is a retail account director here at Microsoft Advertising, and she will be joined by Chris Nightingale from AO.com and Svetlana Stefaniki and Gemma Carr from Victoria Plum. Both brands will share what is top of mind for them as we head into spring peak, with the goal to give you learnings and advice to prepare you for the coming weeks ahead. So I'm sure you'll agree it's a great lineup. You've had enough of listening to me. Let's get on with the show. Barry, over to you.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Joe. So I have the pleasure of taking you through some insights today that will hopefully give you a bit of ammo to deal with the home and garden peak that we're going through and going to be going through. I'm going to reflect on a bit of what we've seen in terms of changes in our network from COVID and post-COVID lockdowns, which will hopefully help you with planning as well. So looking back at searches in our network, so from an all-up home and garden point of view, after first lockdown, we saw a massive surge in interest on the network for home and garden in the UK. Obviously with people forced indoors, that surge massively went through the roof due to essential searches, but also people planning home and garden projects and things like that. And that kind of lasted into August, and then it kind of started to taper off a bit. But what we're actually seeing is in 2021 so far, we're already in double-digit growth compared to 2020. So that taper off hasn't continued. We're seeing that strong growth into 2021. So that's one of the first things to point out. If we look at the engagement of searchers and consumers with the ads in our network, we're seeing this reflected through the clicks really strongly as well. Again, compared to 2020, we're seeing double-digit growth again. And one thing I will point out here is that the click growth is actually outpacing the search growth, which is huge. It means that people are online a lot more, they're engaging with content a lot more, which is a fantastic opportunity for advertisers. If we look at across Europe, this surge is not actually localized to the UK. It's happening across markets. So if you have cross-market campaigns, if you're targeting multiple countries, make sure that you have that you are ready for this growth across markets, because we're seeing it in every market. And it's not just localized to like all up home and garden. If we look at the top categories, subcategories within home and garden, like home appliances, home decor, home furniture, kitchen and dining, yard garden, and patio, we're seeing that double-digit growth as well across all the subcategories. So huge opportunity there. If we dig into one of these a little bit more, we'll dig into yard garden and patio. So in 2019, we saw this kind of normal seasonality, what you might expect. We see that increase in spring and a slowly declining volumes then coming in summer as that kind of peak tapers off. In 2020, hugely different story. I will point out as well, these aren't volume figures, it's index. So it's showing what the trend is, the seasonality. So in 2020, the first lockdown, everything went through the roof and it indexed massively until about August and then tapered off. 2020 has actually started with that same volume again in February. But again, as I mentioned, the click volume is actually outpacing the searches. So it's massively high consumer demand and massive opportunity for advertisers. And that's yard, garden, and patio. So if we dig into, so this particular slide, this is hot off the presses. I don't think it's been fully released yet, but we did some first-party research on our network and did some survey rollouts to Bing searchers, and asked multiple different questions. And when we focused in on the kind of area of planning home projects, interior and exterior refreshes were the most popular, most planned projects for 2021. And specifically the four categories there: interior refresh, outdoor refresh, bathroom, and kitchen. They were the biggest projects on people's minds when they're planning for 2021. And an important point is that when we quizzed these people, 94% of consumers who are planning a home and garden project this year also conducted a home and garden project last year. They're not new to the realm of home and garden project planning. So the learnings that you have about your audience from last year will still count. I think that's an important point. You don't have to start from scratch. Things are changing, but the learnings still count. And then out of those who have started or are planning to start, like where are they in that journey? About 67% have either just started to plan or have made no purchases yet. So they're absolutely open to suggestion, open to be influenced and brought into your sales channels. So I think that's, again, just highlights the opportunity that's available there for you to influence those consumers. One key thing, and this is probably quite a big thing, we saw some pretty drastic changes in our demographic mix. So the biggest change, like out of all the demographics, was the increase in activity from the 65 plus demographic. And when I say a big change, 30% year-on-year search increase and a 39% increase year-on-year in clicks. Now, you might be thinking, well, maybe it's a relatively small section of the consumer base for home and garden UK. It's not. It's about 34% of all home and garden clicks so far in 2021 are made up from the 65 plus demographic. So I think that just highlights the need to make sure that your messaging is accurately targeting the audience that's searching for the products that you have. And if you don't have that taken into consideration, or you haven't maybe in the past and things are working fine, it's an opportunity for you to improve efficiency by accurately targeting the audience that's driving clicks towards the demographic. Another interesting thing as well, when we look at what sort of kind of key things were popping in the data, one of the insights that popped straight out was searchers are engaging more on non-brand and generic searches. So when we look at the yearly growth, I think this was November to January versus November to January. So it's taken into consider peak and a bit of the new year. So we actually see 41% increase in non-branded and only 3% in branded queries. And again, obviously with challenges for advertisers, there was a bit of a slowdown in demand around that time. Or people didn't want to maybe go as heavy during peak season, so there was a reduction in CPCs as well of about 12 pence. I think I saw a question coming in there. Has there been any changes who is actually making home and garden searches? The demographic outside of the 65? Yeah, so I mean, majority of those demographics fluctuated a few percent here and there. We did see another increase in the 25 to 34 category. I think it was about an 8 to 9% increase year on year. So sorry, so an increase, but not as drastic as the 65 plus. So I would say that's going to be a key driver in change in behavior. But that's also the 25 to 34 is another demographic to make sure that you have campaigns built out for. Okay. I think I've gone on a slide. Bear with me. There we go. So this is a bit of it's always a bit of a challenge to do any sort of forecasting. But I said I'll throw it in because obviously the market is fluctuating, it's volatile, things are changing, and one word from the government and everything goes in a different direction. But we still need some sort of benchmark, some milestone to plan for. So when we look at this is a model called Profit. It's well used in the industry and it's pretty robust to big spikes and changes and takes into consideration like weeks and weekdays, weekends, months, things like that might throw a forecast a bit askew. And when we look at that, despite so last year obviously we saw this big peak in home and garden around about now with lockdown introduction. So we don't expect that same peak, but we do expect continued growth. And if you look at from February to end of June, we're expecting about a 32% increase year on year in terms of clicks for Home and Garden UK. And I know previously we've said it was about 51% up year on year so far. So you can see there from the graph that growth tapers a little bit when you compare it to last year. But again, for the whole period, 32% is a good benchmark to aim for. And obviously that's all up Home and Garden, but the same is reflected when you dig into the subcategories as well. So again, double-digit growth across appliances, decor, kitchen. Smaller growth in yard, garden, and patio. And it's not necessarily that it's not performing well. It's literally the growth was that big last year that it's not as big this year. So we're predicting a slightly muted growth there, but still across that season, February to end of June, around about 8% click growth should be expected. And another thing to point out, this is based on search performance only. So if you've got MSAN or audience campaigns running on the site as well, the incremental performance you'll see from them should be added on top of this as well. So if you're running both of them in tandem, you're obviously going to see better performance. And I think that leads me nicely into this section here. So if you look at another thing to kind of call out, we saw massive engagement on our MSAN ad exposure and engagement as well post lockdown last year, and that continued to grow across the year. And you'll see some pretty drastic figures there as the audience network was engaged with more, people are spending more time online. And I think it's I wanted to flag it here as a key opportunity because it works on a CPC model, not a CPM. So, people aren't going to be massively clicking on native ads, but it's a great way to drive efficiency, like to efficiently drive that reach and drive them back into your channel and create awareness about your brand and your business. So I think it's a key thing to use in tandem with search, which leads me on to this, which is another hot off the presses piece. We did an ad effectiveness study on retail, and what we found was that when you use both search and native together, there's a 3.5 time increase in higher conversion rate. Now, I think that's just massive. Now, this is a proper study done by Microsoft Research, so we have the figures here. It's based on about 2.5 million user counts. So it's, again, a pretty massive figure. So I just wanted to flag that it is something that you should be doing. And I know one thing I've seen a lot is, when talking to advertisers, the MSAN might sit with a different team, but it would be massively in your influence or in your interest to influence that team and get them to do it, because you're going to see the incremental result from them spending their budget on MSAN and you getting the knock-on effect. So I just wanted to flag that as a high opportunity. And then obviously we've got products and features. So Microsoft Shopping campaigns, product ads account for about 24% of clicks in Home and Garden, and the CPCs are 24% lower than search ad CPCs. So it's kind of a no-brainer to be on. I think most people at this stage do have some presence there, but make sure that you have those campaigns optimized, you have all products in your feed, the standard kind of stuff. But I think it's an important area to drive efficiency for your campaigns. Dynamic search ads as well. it drives about 37% of click volume from broad matching with 29% lower CPCs. And I think that's a key one to focus on in a volatile market. We did see that advertisers who had dynamic approaches when lockdown initially happened and when fluctuations happened in the marketplace, the advertisers who had that were able to adapt quicker to the changes in the marketplace, and it allowed them to gain ground against competitors. So I think that's a key one to make sure that you have your dynamic search ads built out. And then audiences, it's a tried and tested method in the industry. Remarketing has 45% lower CPAs and 55% higher ad click-through rates versus regular activity. And then to increase target audience, in-market audiences as well are a key product to make sure that you've got implemented. And then just to close out with a couple of recommendations, just make sure to plan and adapt. I know super generic, but I think the points I wanted to make were, searches and clicks are up 24% and 51%. That's huge. The clicks are outpacing searches, so demand is high. So make sure that you have budget and time investment kind of planned out and secured in place before you dig in. A lot of the time we see people, are just understaffed, or there's so much to deal with. Time investment is going to be a challenge, so make sure you focus on the opportunity areas and make life easy for yourself. And as well, reach out to your account teams if you need help kind of prioritizing some of the products and features and deciding which to go for next, or help implementing. They're always there to help. With MSAN and search, it's a 3.5 times higher conversion. It's a massive increase. It is a no-brainer. And just to highlight that again, if you think that it doesn't sit in your team, drive your partner team, because you're going to end up seeing the results from them spending their budget. So it's, again, massive no-brainer. And then products and features. Make sure that you have adequate coverage and optimized campaigns for shopping campaigns, dynamic search ads, and audiences. With a better, when we talk about adapting as well, I put in 2 here just to kind of hammer this home. Our audience demographic mix has changed slightly older demographic, and they're driving 39% increase year on year in clicks, which is massive. So make sure your messaging is targeted towards your audience. With people spending more time online, again, non-brand is more important than ever. And I would say the dynamic search ads, the dynamic approach, falls into the adapt bucket as well. Like it's a key thing to have in there to make sure you adapt to the volatile market and the changing market, so you can be on top of those trends as they happen. So hopefully that's helped. I'll just double check in case there's any other questions before I pass off. You mentioned MSAN click growth. Have you seen any knock-on effects of MSAN on search KPIs? Yeah, I've done a couple of studies on, we'll say, apparel and fashion industry quite recently, and when we dug into the attribution between search and social and native, the knock-on effect was pretty high. We see the 3.5 times conversion rate uplift from that study. I saw pretty similar results looking at apparel for individual advertisers across their marketing channels. We did see that when you have MSAN in play, the click volume is, we're performance marketers, you look at click volume and you measure a campaign off that, but really the knock-on effect and the awareness that campaign creates is the key. You might end up paying a small amount of budget for MSAN, but then you're driving people to your channel, you're creating that awareness, that brand awareness, and then when they go looking for a product because they're spending more time online and browsing, your product, your business is top of mind for them, and they end up clicking in because they're curious, and you've got them in your sales funnel. So it's I would say definitely, if you don't already have it or you're kind of testing out, it's a key channel to focus on, especially cookieless world. We're going to have to focus a bit more on audiences, so definitely a key area to focus on. And with that, I will pass on to our customer panel and to Raman.
Thank you very much. As Barry mentioned, I am Raman Duty, Retail Account Director at Microsoft Advertising. I have the pleasure today to introduce our panel and ask them some questions, with the hope that you all walk away with some valuable learnings and tips for you to take away and really put into action. So with that, let me introduce our 3 guests. Svetlana, Senior Search Manager at Victoria Plum, Chris, Digital Marketing Manager at AO.com, And lastly, Gemma, Senior Digital Marketing Exec at Victoria Plum. Welcome all.
Hi, pleasure to be here.
Hi.
Morning. We are thrilled you could join us today. I know everyone on the call is very keen to hear from you, so let's get stuck in. There is no surprise here, but the last year has been somewhat different to any other year in retail. As you look back, how have you really adapted your initial lockdown, with the measures that have been put in place, everyone moving indoors, and that enormous shift to online shopping that we have seen as we have all navigated through this pandemic?
I think from an AO side, it's been really interesting. I think that when the extent of the crisis became evident, our first priority was to really protect people and our customers and be able to continue to deliver safely. So it meant enabling people to work from home from day one, really, and allowing our frontline workers to put in place new ways of working and kit to make sure we can maintain those social distancing measures. We turned off most essential installation services at the time, but really gave our drivers and engineers discretion to help those vulnerable customers really safely. But you're absolutely right. 100% of the market went online, which was crazy. We saw some really interesting things like chest freezers and bread makers. The demand for those products went through the roof. But it's been exceptional in terms of the change in online buying habits of consumers. People have really embraced online, initially out of necessity, but now because of convenience, really. And we've kind of coined a phrase to describe how rapidly the shift to online has been. We say it's 10 years of change in 10 months. And really, the pandemic has accelerated that shift to buying online for us, which has been kind of happening over the last 15 years.
Thank you, Chris. That was a great perspective. Gemma, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a huge benefit for us to have just been online before the pandemic anyways. So the only departments that have seen the biggest impact for us is supply chain, just making sure that we had enough stock and that shipments arrived on time, as well as the warehouse and delivery team, making sure that the orders were fulfilled with the increase in demand, which we saw maybe a couple of months after the pandemic started. But in terms of just our marketing, we saw a huge traffic uplift once the restrictions started to lift around May, June time. So we had to really focus on what categories that we thought were most profitable and important to us to be bidding on. But at the same time, it has been a challenge with everyone else moving online. So the competition has grown significantly year on year.
Thank you, Gemma. And now that we are talking about this, what about in your sector? Have consumers been continuing to update their homes throughout the past year of lockdowns?
Yeah, we've definitely grown year on year. At the start of the lockdown, we saw a dip in traffic just due to the uncertainty, but we did notice that people were buying a lot more things that they could use for DIY jobs in the house, so like tiles, paint, and wallpaper, just with tradesmen not being allowed in your house at the start of the pandemic. So AOV was a bit of a struggle for us at the start, just with all orders being the smaller AOV prices. But as the restrictions started to ease in June, we did see that huge year-on-year growth start to pick up, and we were hitting numbers similar to the ones that we were getting in the January sale, like the peak time. So yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, no, people have really continued to buy, haven't they? I think with the lockdown in place, consumers are spending a lot of time updoing their homes, really nurturing their homes and their remote places of work as well. So that's really interesting. Thank you. And as an online retailer, how has technology really played a role, helping people in their online journey? Has this changed based on the last 12 months? Gemma, Svetlana, any thoughts there?
So we are offering we're offering installations to our customers. So we're trying to differentiate it in different service. And I think since Corona started, we kind of created more communications and videos around how to take measurements, what ideal bathroom should look like, use apps for measuring bathrooms, etc., and creating kind of visual designs so customers can see it. So when the kind of, the surveyor goes into the house, they have a really good idea how the things are going to work together. So, yeah.
Thank you. And as we are on the topic, Chris, any additional thoughts from you on this as another pure online retailer?
Yeah, for us, I think really technology has changed a lot over the last few years. The importance of telling product stories is really important for us using digital storytelling. We have a team in Manchester who are kind of using state-of-the-art 3D modeling and motion graphics to help tell that story. So the more information we can give to the customer at the right time, kind of what the other guys have already mentioned, is hugely important. And once people find a better way of doing things and they can see that it'll fit, and they can see it's the right product for them, then why would they go back, really? So giving people all the information they need online, making it super convenient. At the end of the day, our customers lead really busy lives, and it's only going to get busier, right? So whether it's dropping the children off at school when the schools go back, doing the weekly food shop, or just working itself, everyone has commitments. So it's really important as retailers that we're focusing and striving to be as convenient as we can. And for us, we've been an online business. So everything, the whole kind of AO ecosystem, from delivering to using our own logistics fleet, recycling, packaging, everything like that has kind of been driven by us, and we've had control of it. It's in our hands. So it's been great to use that technology to control kind of all aspects of our business, really.
Completely. And Chris, you mentioned communication being vital, and it's so important, taking the consumer and really helping them through these uncertain times that we've had. So that completely resonates. Thank you. When we really start thinking about your media strategies as goals as a whole, how important do you think it is when looking at performance, search marketing for your business? And what role does it play in your wider marketing strategy?
So I suppose I can go.
Go for it, yeah.
So, paid and generally online, it's 100% of our business. It's our bread and butter. It's what we do. So it is exceptionally important. We're obviously working in paid marketing, PPC marketing, but I'm also working with other managers across different departments, and we're trying to understand how to best to spend our budgets, how the best can kind of generate the most of revenue, what competitors' reaction is going to be during, for example, peak periods. We have some really, really top competitors. We're trying to make sure that during the TV ads and the more aggressive performance, we have enough budget and enough traffic to compete against them. So we're thinking about that.
Yeah, just to build on that as well, I think cross collaboration is hugely important. A lot of businesses don't necessarily do it. So I'd just encourage anyone to pick up a conversation, have a chat with someone who's not even in your team, because the amount of wealth of information you'll learn is brilliant. But yeah, from our side, as AO, we want to continue to invest in our brand and proposition, and to really build that awareness, build trust, and build engagement. A few things we've done over the last year or two is some really big things for our brand. We're sponsoring the AO Arena in Manchester. We've got some great investment in social, and we're really trying to cement the change in customer shopping behavior towards that online space, really.
Completely. And Chris, as you're on that sort of topic, just sort of looking ahead as well, what opportunities or challenges do you see for home and garden brands this year?
I think for us, it's still, the opportunity is still kind of very similar to what I mentioned before, into telling that digital story. We've got a lot of great tools and able to do that. And it's all about being able to share that same experience with the customer online as you would even in a store. Having someone at the end of the phone, having someone on chat, telling them all the information they need is going to be massive for the home and garden brands this year.
Completely. Thank you. Gemma, Svetlana, any additional thoughts there?
Gemma?
I guess just from me, the only challenges really will be the uncertainty when everything starts to open up again, and people will literally be not in the house at all once they start getting back into normal life. But I still think as a key opportunity for us companies is just to have learned from the past year around the future of retail and just focus a bit more on e-commerce. And I think it's quite useful that they've extended the stamp duty where you don't have to pay it again, I think, until June. So I think a lot of first-time buyers will be a key audience in the next couple of months.
Just to add what Gemma said, I think Brexit could have create some uncertainty in the market. and kind of, cause some kind of, change consumer confidence levels. So we should kind of watch out for that. I also think that many people will continue working from home, and they will continue making them a comfortable place because the whole family most of the time is still at home. And I think especially in bathrooms and kitchens, many our competitors, including us, are differentiating into different services like installations, for example, offering different delivery options, etc. So I think service as a kind of a part of product offerings is going to grow as well.
That's really interesting. I've definitely learned something new, so I'm sure others would really take some great interest there as well in terms of that sort of looking forward piece. And what's the most important reason for you to be investing in Microsoft advertising today?
From an AO side, I think it's just really the richness of data that's available to us kind of at the touch of a button. So we all know how quick the online world is, right? People want things fast. The amount of data that we have can be a little bit overwhelming at times, but in order for us to see new queries coming in, the amount that customers have searched and changed their habits over the last year is massive. So for us to be able to react to that quickly is important, and to be able to test at scale as well. There's a lot of tools that we can be using, like the Keyword Planner or Microsoft Advertising Intelligence, to really be on top of those trends. And obviously as well, just relating to the point that I mentioned about that digital storytelling, we want to be able to try and jump on the bandwagon. There's many better ways to tell that story as possible. So, image extensions is a great use of that. But I know there's a lot of other opportunities as well through DSAs and audiences and the rest, especially as we're moving into that cookieless environment, to making sure we're capitalizing on those moments that really do matter.
Completely. Love those examples there, Chris. Gemma, Svetlana?
I'm totally with Chris. I think online you have more data, quicker reaction times. You don't have to pay for expensive rent, etc. So you can invest money in something more exciting, different products and different services. You have more chances to experiment with things. And you can have a smaller team that, delivers massive amount of revenue, which I think is brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris, Gemma, Svetlana, for joining us. You have given us some great perspective, which I know the audience will really take away with them today. So a huge thanks. Joe, back over to you.
Thanks, Raman. So look, I think those were two great sessions with a huge amount of insight in such a short space of time. So first of all, thank you, Barry, for sharing your insights and helping all our listeners plan and adapt as we move into that kind of exciting spring peak. I think some of the key takeaways for me, look, home and garden searches are up massively at 24%. Customer engagement is at an all-time high. We're expecting strong click growth for the foreseeable future. Who knew that 65 plus makes up a third of our home and garden clicks? I think the fact that Nonbrand is more important than ever. Search and native tends to perform better by 3.5 times. And then you've got that holy trinity of DSA audiences and shopping that's going to drive that performance for you. So thanks again, Barry, for that. The customer panel was brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Svetlana, Gemma, and Chris. Super interesting insight from you. I particularly love the bits around 10 years of change in 10 months. People are continually nurturing their homes. One of the key things that I listen to with intent is those advancements in technology and that advice on how to measure and make things look good, because that's something that I definitely need to improve on. The 3D modeling, the more information that you can give to a customer, the better. And making that information available online. So that's key. Loved hearing a bit around how you're striving to be as convenient as you possibly can be. Sustainability came into that as well. Love the bits around cross collaboration across businesses. How do you kind of pick up that conversation outside your team? And again, we talked about some of the challenges as well around telling that digital story. Stamp duty is going to be a potential opportunity for first-time buyers. Brexit, consumer confidence levels could be a factor here, but hopefully offset by the fact that we're going to be continually working from home for the foreseeable future. So look, I think we've learned a whole heap today. I certainly have. So to close, over the next day or two, you will receive an email with the content from today. If you could also spend a couple of minutes completing the survey and letting us know of what you thought of our Spring into Retail event, that would be greatly appreciated. So finally, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Please do contact your account team if you have any follow-up questions. Best of luck with Spring Peak from all of us at Microsoft Advertising, and we hope to see you all again soon. Thanks. Goodbye.